That's why I always wipe twice.
Yeah.
No, we're back on. Never
We'll
mind.
finish that sentence. Thank you for always keeping the end in mind there, Adam. And as usual, folks, back for yet another exciting episode of the UnDisrupted Podcast with Carl and Adam, the number one podcast with Carl and Adam, and the only podcast with Carl and Adam, but we're still number one. And that said, Adam, our opening debate today, what's your EdTech spirit animal? What is your EdTech spirit animal? So I guess not just your spirit animal in general, but like when you're thinking of like, you know, your utilization of EdTech, and how would you, yeah.
This is funny because I was watching Coco with my kids the other day. And if you haven't seen Coco, it's this whole thing and they have like spirit animals and all this stuff. So
not a sponsor of this podcast.
Yes, I started thinking about this, and for me, just because in my role I've had to like ensure the internet's moving at a high speed, I'm going to go with a peregrine falcon, which is the fastest flying bird. So when I think about the service that I wanted to provide as a technology director, I wanted that fast service where when they get in a ticket, it's done immediately. It's super fast. The internet's super fast. So things are done in a fast and efficient manner. So a peregrine falcon is my EdTech spirit animal.
Well, of course, we would have like animals that are closely related because I was thinking mine is going to, of course, be related to my favorite sports team. So, it's an eagle poker chip there, folks. Yes, I would say Eagles because as a long time, I can't mention his name on the podcast, but he was a VP and then he became like the CEO of this big giant major EdTech company. Once told me a long time ago when he was just kind of working his way up, he looked at me one point and we were walking up to let's just say a dinner restaurant / bar location. And there's a lot of people gathering over in this one space. And I was like, I guess we should go where all those people go. And he says to me, Carl, eagles don't flock. And we went over to another location, found our own little special area. And I thought, you know what? That's interesting. It's true. Eagles don't. I mean, they lead the way in a lot of ways. They're powerful birds. A lot of symbolism in there, obviously with the country and everything else too. America, we could say.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when I think about EdTech, I think about leading the way. Sometimes that means blooding your nose on stuff when you're trying something new that no one else has tried, making a lot of mistakes, failing, falling, but then getting back up, recovering, cleaning off your feathers and getting back out there. Go birds. But
you would go there.
But enough about our animals, because today we have joining us Dr. Mark Covelle, who we almost had live at FATC.
So close.
If not for a little scheduling snafu on my part. So Mark is the Executive Director, Career and Technical Education Director, I should say, of the Middlebucks Institute of Technology. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Great to be here. I feel like I'm walking in on a conversation that I'm not so sure I want to be a part of, but we'll see what happens here. It's getting crazy, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to talk with you both. And my spirit animal, let's see. I was going to say the Twitter bird because I was a little on the nose with the EdTech thing, but now I'm thinking maybe for what I do here at Middlebucks Institute of Technology, maybe we're more like a honey badger. Like we look a certain way. Like you might think something about us, but we've got some tricks up our sleeve, and we're a little bit different than maybe what you think. So that's going to be my EdTech spirit animal for this conversation.
The honey badger.
I love the honey badger.
Don't care, right? That's the meme.
Which is crazy because that video is like over like 10 years old at this point now. The whole honey badgers don't care.
Yeah. But you do care.
Make yourself feel old.
That's the irony of it. Yeah.
Honey badger can do, he's up for anything. And if you think about, here we go, ready? With all of our students in our 21 programs here, we're everything from welding to cosmetology. We're happy to teach in any one of those 21 career technical programs in 5 different career technical areas. And so pretty neat to be a part of that. So jack of many trades. So that's why I thought the honey badger.
You're a pro at this. I mean, it was a seamless transition because I was
had to switch there at the last minute.
Yeah. I was about to ask you, tell us a little bit more about the Institute. You gave us a little bit of what's kind of going on there. What's the flavor? What's the makeup of your crowd there at the students, staff, faculty? What's it look like? I mean, how long have you all been around? Because I've heard a lot about Middlebucks, but yeah, give me a little bit more.
It's a really great question. So we are what's called a consortium school here in the middle of Bucks County, Pennsylvania. So eastern side of Pennsylvania. And we offer what's called shared time career technical education. And so what that means is we've got 4 sending districts. So Central Bucks, New Hope, Solebury, Council Rock, and Centennial school districts came together about 60 years ago and created this school as a place where students could build their technical knowledge. And so we're a consortium school. They send their students to us half day. So half day, they're at their home school. We call it their home school, where they get their core academics. And then the other half of the day, they're in an approved technical program working towards certifications here at Middle Bucks Institute of Technology. So we've got, like I was mentioning, everything from cosmetology to welding, electrical. We've got computers, commercial art, networking operating systems, dental. We've got all kinds of incredible different programs here where students can pursue a certification and a credential so that they can be employable out of high school and work towards family sustaining wages for themselves early in their young careers.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's so awesome because
yeah, go ahead, Adam.
I was going to say, because right now, you see such uncertainty right now in public K-12 with things that are going on. But one thing that is true right now is the effort on college and career readiness and the different pathways and opportunities for our students. Because I jokingly made a post the other day on Facebook of like, when was the last time you had to find the tangent or cotangent of anything in your adult life? So, kids always say, hey, I get this information. When am I ever going to use it? Probably not. But probably never. But when you start talking about a program like you're a part of, kids are getting these certifications, they're getting the skill sets that they can turn around and make money. They can turn around and do things with. So going back to the question about college career readiness, what trends are you seeing right now for college and career readiness in these programs? What are current trends that school districts need to be aware of as they're setting up these programs or getting kids ready for what comes next?
I appreciate that. I will tell you this. We are not unique in this fact, but I will tell you that we have record interest here at Middle Bucks. We have record applications, record enrollment, and wait lists in many, if not all, of our programs. And so the trend is towards learning by doing, and the trend is towards authentic learning like we're providing here. I was part of the College for All push in this country, and when we said college for all, we might have accidentally said trades for none.
Yes.
And that has left us as a country with a skills gap that we all hear about and we all admire from a distance, but we have to be willing to be bold about how we're going to address that. And so what's happening, and I would love to do more research or find more research out about this, but in this sort of post-COVID or post-pandemic era, we have students who are really engaging deeply with the type of learning that we're providing in a career technical setting. And so what I think is unique about that is that learning by doing aspect. I'm actually a classically trained K-12 English teacher. I thought I was going to do 10 years in the classroom, 10 years as a building administrator, 10 years as a central office administrator. That was going to be my 30-year career. I actually never even heard about career technical education as part of my classic pedagogical training.
Right.
And so it wasn't until I was pursuing a principal position and one was open at a career tech center locally to me, which happened to have an academic program as well. So there's not quite as many of them, but there are some that are what are called comprehensive, where they offer academics and technical training. So they had a principal position in the academic world where I felt more comfortable, but I also like the idea of learning something new in that school. And so what happened was I got paired with career tech ed and I fell in love, and I'm there maybe 3 months. And I said, I'm never going to leave this type of education because it's so authentic, so meaningful. And then when you work backwards, you realize, well, the brain science is really strong supporting what we do in career tech ed. We've got student voice and choice. They select the program that they're going to be in, right? So you've got student voice and choice. I got a thumbs up there.
That
for
was
myself.
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Those of you watching this live version just saw the magical AI thumb pop up. That's cool.
So you've got student voice and choice, which we know improves outcomes in schools, right? When students are engaged with their learning, we know that improves outcomes. So that's baked into what we do here. You have learning by doing, right? Sometimes you'll hear people say working with their hands. I think that diminishes the work that students are doing. But I think learning by doing. What happens when your ice maker's broken on your refrigerator or your freezer, right? You go right to YouTube and try to figure out how to do it. It's rather embarrassing as a career tech director that when my check engine light goes on, I don't have the skill set to do anything about it, except book an appointment 2 or 3 weeks later because of how booked up these auto repair places are. We laugh because it's true. And so I say all of that to mean that I think that there's something to be gleaned from the way that business is happening here. All of our 21 programs have to have an occupational advisory council. So as an English teacher, I didn't have to have authors or publishers or copywriters come into my class and advise me on what I was presenting or how I was presenting it or the tools I was using. But here, that is just how we do business. So we're constantly connected with business and industry. So we're pairing students we're building their network as high school students, and the outcomes we're seeing are phenomenal. The other thing that I'll say is in my English class, my authentic learning was a lot of pretending, right? Well, act as if you are a magazine editor when you're writing. So I was trying to give them choice, right? Here's a choice board, but it was pretend. It was an attempt at being authentic. And I wasn't, I was doing the best that I had with the tools that were in front of me. But here we don't pretend, we practice, right? Like when you bring your car in for brakes, I sure hope that we do that right, that we have repeatable accuracy to make sure that we're doing that right. And so it is authentic learning, and it's authentic learning to a way that I could never replicate it in my English classroom. And so that's where I really started to connect with this type of education, because I was like, I think people have this all wrong. And I've sort of been on a kick to try to present, speak, get out, and evangelize career and tech ed, because I think what we're doing is great here, and I think that the outcomes are real, and I think that students can earn a family sustaining wage or get a leg up in their careers. And all education is career education. All education is career education.
And that's kind of
we just happen to do it a little bit differently.
Yeah, and as you're talking, I get real excited about this stuff. I love all the stuff that you guys are doing there, and I know that there's pockets of schools like that throughout the country. My biggest worry and question is why is this not happening everywhere, right? I mean, my daughters, I hear your school and I'm thinking, my gosh, I wish my daughters were going there. They're going to a great school down the street. It's very traditional, Bowie High School here, and Mark Robinson's a principal who follows and watches the podcast, so I'll give him a shout out. But the thing, and he has some things for them to do inside the makeups of a giant 3,500 student enrolled high school in Texas. But for the most part, this isn't happening unless you find like those little one-off academies still. And is it just because you think, are we still just in the innovation phase of this, and maybe it's not widespread yet because people just are waiting and seeing? Or do you think with the disruption happening at the federal level, maybe this will encourage more of this kind of career and technical kind of academies? I don't know. How do we make this more widespread, Mark?
Sure. I think so. It's complicated, right? Like everything. And I'm going to say this. I think that our intentions were never bad when we did the things that we tried to do. I think that we were always trying to do what we thought was right for kids. But if we think about the high stakes testing era, that was the time, and that's sort of like my formative time as an early educator, right? When No Child Left Behind comes in, federal high stakes testing standards come in, states have to comply with federal high stakes testing requirements. So what happened? And I was a high school assistant principal around that time, and you started to see what schools valued. And you can tell what a school values. You can usually look at their master schedule and tell what the school values. Well, what started to happen at that time? That's when we started to close up our elective areas. So things like wood shop that I had as an early, I think in middle school we had a wood shop. In my high school we had an auto shop, but those started to close up. And the focus and the reason for that was that you started to put students in more remediation for high stakes tested areas, right? So you would give an English lab or a math lab to a student, and they wouldn't have room in their schedule anymore for those elective areas. Your requests come down, and as a school leader, you have to, you staff based on requests. And then of course, these are costly programs as well. So the model that we have here, where we've got a consortium school, and I'll speak in broad terms, it's obviously going to be more complicated than this, but I have 4 districts who contribute to this school. So for a 25-cent investment, they all get $1 return. And so, my pencils and paper are 2x4s and metal rods for welding. So it's an expensive endeavor to do what we're doing. And so being creative about how you implement that is certainly part of it. I think those consortium models have been working really, really well. I also think that we prioritize college for all from an early, the promise used to be, right? The social contract was go to school, do well, go to college, and then you'll get a family sustaining wage. But that somewhere along the way, and again, there's probably folks that have research or can do research on this, but somewhere along the way, that promise didn't become an automatic like it once was. And so now you've got folks who are parents now, with this current generation of parents, who are still paying for college while their kids are going to school. And so the question is, should college be right for all? And mom and dad are still paying for the degrees that are hanging on the wall, and maybe still paying tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars for those degrees. So I think that changed the narrative when that shift happened, right? When that college for all sort of stopped working as the promise of a lucrative path. I think that's when the shift started to happen towards learning by doing, career tech ed, career education, career focused education. And so, in my opinion, I think that's where the fulcrum was on this issue. And the problem is it's been a 70-year problem, and it's not going to be a 2-year solution to that. But I'll tell you what I'm very interested to watch. And we had a lot of dialogue at FETC this year about the wildfires in Colorado, or in California, excuse me. I'm really interested to see what the schools of 2025, 2026 are rebuilt as. I think that will give an indication if they are bold enough and if they are brave enough to really rethink what school can be. I think there's an opportunity there to redefine what modern education looks like. I mean, it's an absolutely terrible situation and devastating situation, but coming out of that, I'm keeping a lot of focus on what happens as they come out of it, because I think that may be the answer to your question, Carl, which is, how do we do that? How do we do this more? I think we have to embed it in. I also think we have to do it right. Like, I don't think this is about career exploration or just touching these items. Our students here are committed. I mean, they're here 2.5, 3 hours a day in their program areas working towards, and in automotive's case, they're working towards getting their certification to be able to inspect vehicles for the state. Or in cosmetology's example, they're working towards their state licensure. So, I mean, there is an end goal in mind for all of these programs. So it's not just, hey, let's try a skill. It's let's have repeatable accuracy on a skill. So,
yeah, go ahead, Adam. I was going to say real quick that the building, I think, is an interesting part of this too. You kind of mentioned that there, that little bit about rebuilding. I do think maybe backwards designing into existing buildings is a bit of a struggle and a challenge. Like, kind of rethinking the way the building is built. So starting from scratch is a great way to do it. I agree with you on that. And I think that maybe we'll start seeing more opportunity of that as new schools are getting rebuilt, hopefully, should funds make themselves available. I mean, that's always the next big if, but maybe it's the structure of the building itself. I think of my daughter's high school, again, very much an egg carton, right? Almost jail cell-like in terms of long hallways, little rooms, everything kind of in this one corridor, versus a more open space with maybe a garage type wall that could come up and bring a vehicle in. I mean, things just are different.
Right. And there was a school I visited in Oregon that took over an old manufacturing facility and modularized, if that's a word, inside of that building to make, I know the English teachers are making up words now. But
all words are made up.
Yeah.
Amen.
Technically correct.
But they created spaces within a gigantic open space, and that was also really neat to see.
Cool.
With all that, it really, you talked about that shift, and that's FT that's happening, and we're seeing this shift all over the place. FT. My question to you is, how do you see technology really meshing with a lot of these career opportunities that are out there? Because I was at a conference, a career readiness conference, and one of the speakers says every job at this point is a technology job. meaning that you're going to be touching some form of technology moving forward, no matter what you're doing, whether it's how you are doing your payroll, how you're checking in,
Absolutely.
or how you are submitting requests. There is a technology component. So have you seen that really mesh? And with that, also with AI in these careers?
Right. So, really great question. So let's just stay in the automotive space for a moment. If you have had your vehicle worked on recently, there have been really great advances in the technology space for vehicles. So not just to say that that vehicles themselves are more automated and technical than they once were, but even just on the tech side of it. So I'm fixing your vehicle. You'll get a message or an alert saying, Adam is your tech today. And it may tell you a little bit about this happened. I had an HVAC appointment at my house. I got a printout of who my tech was. Then in the auto space, also in the HVAC space, they'll now track their repairs via camera. They'll show you what's going on. They'll take a picture. They'll send it to you. You'll do a work authorization. So your technical knowledge has to be up to par in order to be competitive in that space, to stay competitive in that space. So that's one component that I'm thinking of. But then I'm also thinking about back to cosmetology. A lot of the cosmetology jobs now are very entrepreneurial. So you might rent a space within a salon. You're not a member of the salon staff. You are your own business within that salon. Well, now you have all of the responsibilities of a small business, which is promotion or self-promotion, right? Putting your book of business up on Instagram or LinkedIn, or just communicating so that you can do business development. So even just in those three quick examples, we're seeing technology pushing its way in. Now, AI, again, I think you're going to start to see that infuse itself into, let's just stay in those three spaces. I think you're going to start to see cars that are going to start to self-diagnose and send you, we've detected a problem, which they already kind of do based on sensors, but they're not predictive yet. But I could imagine some predictive AI being part of that. We've noticed an imbalance in this system. Please take it in for service to get ahead of costly repairs. I could see something happening there. That would be the same in any mechanical system. You're already seeing that a little bit in like the mechatronics, advanced manufacturing spaces. So I think some of that predictive AI work, but even just in the work that we're doing as educators, I mean, AI, remember how we deliver content here. My teachers are all from business and industry. And then they come to the school as a content area or business area expert. And then they learn pedagogy, classroom management, special education, right? So we've really started to embrace the teacher-centric AI tools. So I know that doesn't exactly answer your question on the business and industry side, but on the educator side, we've really embraced those tools because my teachers aren't classically trained to know how to write a 5E lesson plan or students will be able to. That's new language to them. And so they learn that on the job. And so we've embraced those AI tools. And then what I foresee, at least in this building, is more AI literacy work with our students to make sure that they're prepared. I don't know that we're going to ever be able to give them all of the tools that they need to be ready for AI when they're in the workplace, because that may be a few years from now. But I think we can get them up to speed with their AI literacy so that they understand and can be critical thinkers in the world that they become employees in.
Yeah, I wonder, there's so much change in that space, in that field. It'd be hard to keep up with it, but I agree with you. I mean, I think starting with the foundation of AI literacy is the way to go. I want to do something different with you that we've never done with another guest. I'm going to ask you to go back in time to a young teenage Mark Covelle. And as you're walking in, let's say you are attending your own campus. What would be a course, class, or pathway that you think that you currently offer that you like as a young version of yourself? You'd be like, oh man, I would have been all over that as a teenager.
So I'm going to tell you this. It would be hard to choose. But I'll answer, but then I'm going to give you sub answers.
Okay, that's a cop-out answer.
Very political. Very good.
No. No, I'm gonna give you an answer.
Okay.
The answer is our building trades program. So as a homeowner now, there are so many things that I wish I knew how to do. And I am just not, that was not the path that I took. Our building trades program learns all of the different trades and then puts them together sort of in a sort of like a maintenance style program, right? Where you're learning how to, everything from foundations to framing to draw. So you learn each of the trades, a little bit of electrical, a little bit of plumbing. So I could walk in there any day. They could be sweating pipes for plumbing. They could be wiring boxes for electrical. We also have a dedicated electrical program, which is going to be more learning electrical code and those sorts of things. But that building trades program is a nice survey course that as a homeowner now would be really beneficial to be able to have and not have to pay every single time you run into something.
Yeah.
There, as we're talking about students going into the workforce, there are so many, think about if your heat goes out or your air goes out on the hottest day of the year, how much would you pay to have that air conditioning working? And it's why the Wall Street Journal published an article just this year as tradespeople being recognized as the new millionaire class of workers.
I've heard this
because those businesses are number one, there's a limited number of people able to be qualified to fill those positions, and number two, they're in such high demand. Everybody needs them. So I have to at least come back to say, I would love to learn how to weld. It's so fascinating to watch. I keep giving myself thumbs up.
You're doing
I would love to learn how to weld. Good answer. Welding would be up there. Electrical would be up there. Automotive would be up there for young Mark to learn in those spaces.
Not cosmetology. I was kind of hoping that would be the answer, but I'm with you on that.
You have this, Carl?
There's not, but yeah, you can't really improve on perfection, right? I mean, that's the thing.
Look at what we're working with.
I'm with you, man. The trades. Oh man, every day I'm trying new tinkering. I break stuff all the time in this house. And electrical, I was putting in some lights the other day, and I was like, kind of getting close to the wires. I don't have one of those little meter things. I was like, maybe I'll shock myself. Maybe I won't. Well, let's see what happens. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And those mistakes can turn into more expensive ones very quickly. Right. So, 100%. Certainly the some of those more classic trades are areas I wish I had more technical skills in.
Mark the Builder.
Maybe that. Maybe. I'm now coming back to the cosmetology comment. I don't know whether or not to be offended.
No, I was just throwing it out there. I don't.
Hey, remember that was Carl. That wasn't me. That was Carl.
I'm going to perseverate on that.
Let me just tell you,
tonight.
I've seen this man's dance moves, not publicly on stage, but backstage at FETC. He was warming up quite the crowd. We were trying to warm up the crowd, Mark. I mean, I feel like between you, me, and Adam, we're trying to get the group excited, and then it kind of floundered a little bit after you came out and danced, but then no one else followed you. So
we tried.
It reminds me of that video, the best way to start a movement. You see the one guy dancing and everybody kind of just gravitates to it. There we go.
You got to have some bravery along the way, though.
Yeah.
So, Mark, we ask all of our guests when they are on our podcast this question. So here's your question, sir. With everything going on, I know you stay very busy. What is something that you do to keep yourself undisrupted?
That's a great question. I love spending time with my family. So it's my wife and I and our dogs, and we've got a number of Weimaraners in our house, and they are a ton of fun, and they're super energetic, and so we love to spend time together. We love traveling together. We bring the whole pack, and so I would say travel and time with family is really important. And it's something that I try with my team here. I have an amazing team at my school, and it's something that I try to make sure that I reinforce and don't just preach, but actually live to, right? Like I want them to take care of themselves and their families as well. This is a hard job. This is a really hard job. And I have to tell you, especially here, I'm super passionate about having a positive building culture, especially in our business here, where these folks can go back to industry in the blink of an eye, and probably make more income as well. So they really have to be invested in the work that they're doing, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. So I try to make sure that we have a positive building culture, and making sure that we put family first is really important to me. And I try to live that and preach that here.
Well, I could tell just from from our brief interactions that you definitely exude that kind of confidence and culture that, I mean, I would want to work. I get excited hearing the conversations and things that you're doing there at your school. And you're right. You have to create that culture of keeping people around, because it does, at the end, it becomes more than money. It becomes about, do you enjoy where you're working? Do you enjoy the people you work with? And then, of course, that balance of working and traveling with family. So where can people find out more about you and the work you guys are doing there at Bucks Institute?
Thanks so much. So, the best place to find me typically is on LinkedIn. That's where I'm most active. I'm at M Covelle, Mcovelle, on most social medias. Those are my professional accounts. I'm happy to talk to anybody, anytime about career tech ed, and happy to speak to groups if they need motivation or want to talk more about any of these topics. It's something that, as you can tell, I'm super passionate about. I want more people to know. I really want people to stop thinking of our schools and what we do as, dark, dirty, and dingy, and think about it as clean, modern, safe, and lucrative. And that's really the message that I'm trying to get out there.
Awesome. Oh, and I forgot, names of the dogs. Give us a shout out. Give them a shout out on the show. They might hear it.
Okay, here we go. You got Gatsby, you got Linny, you got Prada, you got Gucci. There's a theme there. And you have Maverick.
Okay. Well, before we let the show get to the dogs,
I'm waiting for Louis and Vuitton.
Yeah, right. Dolce and Gabbana. Yeah.
Don't blink.
The show's definitely gone to the dogs. So thank you, Mark, and thank you for the crew out there for listening, and thank you all those listeners out there. Be sure to subscribe, give us a review. We might appreciate it, and give you a shout out or a bark out on a future show. This has been the UnDisrupted Podcast, brought to you by Alfred. He's Adam, and you can follow him at AskAdam3 on the socials.
And he's Carl, and you can follow him at Hooker Tech. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, we are better together.
And we are better
UnDisrupted.